Hey everyone, Kyle Mike here from MLive.com. Joined by Justin Rogers. Tough loss for the Lions this weekend out in San Diego. Justin, and one of the big storylines to emerge from that game was the usage or lack thereof of Calvin Johnson. One of the best receivers on the planet, arguably the best receiver of his generation. What's not in argue is that he's this team's best offensive weapon, and yet 4 targets, 2 receptions, and one of those receptions came on the first drive of the game. So 1 reception the entire rest of the game. A lot of people talking about why the Lions didn't get Calvin more involved. Where do you fall on the issue?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with just the number of offensive plays they ran. 47 in this, normally about 70. So if you get 10 targets in a 70-play game, you're looking at 1 target for Calvin every 7. This one, it was 5 targets in 47, so 1 in 9. It's not that far off in terms of ratio. The one where Stafford got crushed on the Ingram blitz, he was also looking Calvin's way. So I think they were trying, but more. I mean, you got to get at least a little bit more, and it's not enough.
I know what you're saying with the 47 snaps limiting his numbers, but it's an issue that feeds itself too. If you're not getting the ball to Calvin, you're having probably shorter drives because you're not getting first downs and you're not extending those drives. In my opinion, the Lions have to get the ball to Calvin Johnson more, and I need to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know what they're saying when they say they want to take what the defense gives them. You know, we watched for so long Stafford throwing the ball into Johnson, and when it works in triple coverage or whatever it is, like against the Bengals, you get this amazing Sports Center play. But then when it doesn't work out, you've got interceptions, you've got incompletions, you've got whatever. The Lions are trying to get away from that and get the offense more consistent, diversify the attack. Makes a lot of sense to me, but he's the best asset you have in that offense, and I think you have to get creative in getting him the ball. Just look across the sideline. San Diego had no problem getting Keenan Allen the ball. We'll target him 17 times, caught 15 of those. They did all kinds of creative things to get him the ball. The Lions can do the same, and I think they really have to. They took Calvin out of the game themselves, and that to me is inexcusable.
Yeah, on the other hand, I think this is nitpicking in the face of a loss. You know, when the Lions were up 21-3, I quickly flipped to the box score just to, refresh my memory of what happened, and Stafford had 6 completions at the time to 6 different receivers. I guarantee, if that continued that way, this wouldn't be something we were talking about today. But because they blew that lead, then you go back and you're like, well, where did they mess up? There's a lot of places they messed up. I still think that most of the problems after watching it a second time were defensive related. They couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. But the offense is, not without blame here. And, we're going to look at it. Where could they improve? And, when they tried to take their shots to Calvin Johnson in the second half, they faltered.
I agree with you to a point. When the Lions they had 6 receivers caught balls in that 21-3 start and all this stuff, and you're talking about the parity of the offense and so forth. When it's working out, it's fine. When it's not, then all of a sudden you start pointing fingers at, well, Calvin's not getting the ball enough.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but it's the issue that feeds itself. When the Chargers are on a 30-0 run and your offense can't put together a drive that's longer than 4 plays, these problems arise. And part of the reason why your drives are stalling is because you're taking your best player out of the game. And talking to players after the game, talking to Calvin, he said he wasn't even part of the read progression once he was double teamed by a safety. And that to me is if that's accurate, that's crazy to me. If the Chargers just present a double team on Calvin, the Lions will voluntarily take the best player on their offense out of the game. That doesn't make sense to me. You have to. That's what I'm saying. You have to get. I respect the fact they don't want to force the ball to him 50 yards downfield with 2 guys on him. I get that. But be creative, get him the ball. Put it, even a small little slant or whatever. Put him in some space and let him do some things because he's magic with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, why are you going to pay a guy a $130 million contract to be a decoy? We always compare this offense to the Saints offense for good reason. I mean, it's what they're trying to implement here, not just in scheme, but also the diversity of the weapons that they can attack. And if you look at that Saints offense, they had 4 backs. They had Lance Moore, Marquise Colston, just a lot of weapons. But Jimmy Graham was the guy, and Jimmy Graham always got his fair share of targets. Mm-hmm. Calvin's the guy. Golden Tate is fantastic. We've talked about it enough. We think he's a #1 quality caliber wide receiver. Calvin Johnson's better than Golden Tate. It's just the bottom line. He's more physically gifted, and he should be the center of this offense. He should be the mechanism that makes it go. Build around Calvin Johnson, get Calvin Johnson the ball, feed him the ball, let everything else trickle down from there.
Amen. I can't say it better myself. And going into this season, Justin, I mean, I was excited to see what the Lions would do with how many weapons they do have, and I give them a lot of credit for building up those secondary weapons because that makes everyone's job easier. Golden Tate's the best number 2 receiver in the game. I put air quotes around it because he could be a number 1 on a lot of teams. I think Eric Ebron can still be good. Amir Abdullah can play some football. We saw that. I think Joyke Bell still remains a very good tailback, both as a rusher and a receiver. But it all flows through Calvin, or it should be flowing through Calvin, and that's when I think this offense will be at its best. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You got to find ways to get him the ball, even if it's at the line of scrimmage. Like, just put it in his hands and see what happens. At least keep the defense honest, and that's something we didn't see against the Chargers.
It's amazing what 47 plays will do, though. I mean, Joyke Bell, 6 carries, probably should have had more. Right. I think we can agree Amir Abdullah deserved more touches, but percentage-wise, he was touching the ball 1 out of every 4 plays. Tate, 4 receptions. I mean, they didn't do nearly enough with all the weapons they had. It just
see that's where I start to get into the territory where I agree with you that 47 plays, it's going to make the overall production look unimpressive. Right. I mean, 69 yards from the rushing game. Normally, you say that's not a very good game. I thought the running game was very encouraging. 4.4 yards, I believe, a pop.
That's some chunk plays.
That's chunk plays. You saw the 24-yard touchdown from Abdullah. They were 5.8 at halftime. I mean, they were doing some serious damage in the run game. And even from Bell, I think he finished with 16, 17, 18 yards on the ground, but caught a nice pass, screen pass there too, had a nice per carry average. It was an impressive display, but because there's only 47 plays, the overall production is not there. It kind of masks, I thought, what was otherwise productive rushing attack.
I guess I hadn't looked at it. That surprised me when you said that number. Yeah. It seemed like it was so much more effective. We didn't see Theo Riddick until the very end. I think Lance Moore caught 1 ball on 2 targets. Corey Fuller, who knows?
Yep.
But end of the day, starts with Calvin. Give him the ball more, Jim. Give him the ball.
On that note, for Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We're Emily. Keep it right here.